We want to look at some similar teachings to Jesus in Luke 12 that reflects the same as Luke 16. And what I want you to do is to look how Luke weaves together parables with sayings that we find in the Sermon on the Mount, Sermon on the Plain. And again, this is in the section of the travelogue. So this is the same kind of thing happening again. So we start out with a parable of the rich fool, and you might go through and just highlight some of the things going on in here. Um, Notice that it's teacher, tell my brother to divide the inheritance with me. Same thing with money. It's amazing how much Jesus taught using money as an illustration. And so take care, be on your guard against all covetousness. That, of course, is the 10th commandment, the one that Paul says in Romans chapter 7 that he was okay in outwardly keeping all the others, but when that commandment came, he realized the condition he really was in, and it slew him, it killed him. And so, for life does not consist in the abundance of his possessions. And so, here, the land of a rich man produced plentifully, and where am I going to store my crops? I'll tear down my barns, I'll build bigger ones. I will store all my grain and my goods. It's my, all through this. You know, soul, you've ample goods, later for relax, eat, drink, be merry. You know, the Epicurean philosophy. But God said to him, fool, this night your soul is required of you, and the things you have prepared, whose will they be? So it is, the one who lays up treasure for himself and is not rich toward God. So some of the same themes, this laying up treasure in heaven, the rich fool who's lost his soul over misplaced values and not understanding how to use material possessions for the kingdom of God. And so this next section is actually in the Sermon on the Mount at the very end of his section that deals with you can't serve God and mammon. And he goes on and talks about that very thing, and they're using the same language that's in Matthew chapter 6 about not worrying about what you eat and drink and put on and that kind of thing. That's what the Gentiles worry about. But notice how that he says that, you know, all the nations of the world seek after these things in verse 30, kind of, because he's addressing Gentiles, right? Instead, seek his or God's kingdom, and all these things will be added to you. And then notice how he ends this section with a command not to fear. And this is the kind of thing that Luke does. He takes the human attitude toward possession, and if you obey and follow what it means to be in the kingdom, when it comes to possessions, you know, a lot of people would stop and hesitate because of fear, but he addresses that right here. Fear not, little flock, for it's your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. And then he goes on and makes this huge statement about discipleship, of giving up everything to follow Christ. Sell your possessions, give to the needy, provide yourselves with money bags that do not grow old, with a treasure in the heavens that do not fail, where no thief approaches and no moth destroys. And then here's the same saying that's in Matthew, for where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. So it's beautifully done in the way that he ties together sayings from the Sermon on the Mount along with parables that speak to the audience in ways that just narrative would not.